this training taking place? Not at Camp Robinson, it was
Camp Fannin, Texas.
Camp Fannin, Texas.
Uh-huh.
Okay, did you make a good buddy down there?
I don't remember much about my buddies down there. I did have some close friends. In fact, I was pretty close to our company commander, Lieutenant Kilgore. And but remember the names of those that were with me, I really don't.
But now this strenuous exercises that you're doing, you're used to that.
That's one thing that made it better for me than, I mean, that was wonderfully good for me. Now, my platoon sergeant down there, I remember his name. His name was Sergeant Murphy. But whenever some of these guys would be falling on the ground, I was still going because I had been used to working hard and was pretty well muscled up for a kid. And so I didn't have a whole lot of trouble getting through that.
All right, like Everett, you're used to pushing yourself too, aren't you?
Oh, yes.
Even though you would get really, really tired and maybe ready to quit, you were used to going on in spite of the fact that you were tired.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So the endurance of the boot camp wasn't hard for you then?
No, that was amazingly, it was amazing that I could just go on each and every day. And there was some of the boys that I'm sure they were sick, and I'm sure there were some of them that played sick to keep from doing the work. But I kept going.
All right. How long were you in training?
Well, I was there, supposed to be there 17 weeks, but during this time, my dad was very sick, and the Red Cross over at Van Buren had called down there and said that I should come home. And at this time, I was in the hospital with these smarts fractures, and I didn't know anything about it. Well, finally one day, Lieutenant Kilgore came up to the hospital, and he said, I want to know why that you haven't gone home. The Red Cross has called that your daddy's seriously ill, not expected to live, and you're supposed to be home. And so he called the doctor in there, and the doctor had thrown these requests in the garbage can because he said that I was not able to go home.
Oh.
Could not walk. So Lieutenant Kilgore told him, he said, well, he was walking when he came in here, and I don't see why that he can't get some crutches and go home. He said, well, if he wants to go that way, well, it'll be fine. I didn't have a dime in my pocket, and I walked on those crutches up the street about 2 blocks to a Red Cross office. One end, they gave me the money for a bus ticket home and to eat on going home. And when I went back down there, I walked in and paid them what they had loaned me. And they gave me a credit card and told me that was good at any Red Cross office in the world. So I was kind of proud of that. I don't think I ever used it, but I was glad that I had the opportunity to if I needed to.
All right. What kind of credit was it? What did it say?
I don't remember what was on the card. I
Okay.
guess it was just for meals and traveling. That's what I suppose, because that's what I got when I was there.
Okay. How was your dad when you got home?
Well, he was pretty sick, but he got better. They gave me 30 days at home, and the Red Cross called back down there and asked for 30 days more. And, they said his feet are, he's not able to go back to duty anyway at this time. So I was home 60 days.
Okay, so of that 17 weeks, you got to spend 60 days of it at home?
No,
Okay.
no, that was extended.
Oh, okay. It was.
Because you had to have the 17 weeks before
Okay.
they shipped you overseas.
So the guys that you had started out with in training are already gone?
They're already in Europe.
Okay, so even if you had made good buddies there, you wouldn't have stayed with them?
No.
Did you go into the service with anybody else from around the Rudy area?
Not that I know of. I know there's a lot of them went from the Rudy area, but I don't remember any of them going in with me.
Okay. Now, are you assigned to a unit or a section at this time?
Yes, I was. It was, of course, basic training unit, and I couldn't even tell you the name of it right now.
Okay. And after you got through there in Texas, where did they send you then?
Well, let's see. Oh, I went to Camp Shanks, New York.
Okay.
Went to Camp Shanks, New York, and we got all of our overseas equipment and went down to Pier 13 to get on the boat. And out of several hundred men, they left me standing there by myself. One little lonely boy. And I went up to the sergeant that was calling off the names and asked him why did he miss me, and he said, well, I believe it was that day or the day before. He said that Congress came out with a rule not to send anyone overseas until they were 19, so I was still 18. So I went from there back down to Camp Butner, North Carolina, and went on down to Fort Benning, Georgia, and stayed there until I was 18.
Till you were 19?
19, rather.
Okay.
Then they gave me a 7-day pass, a 7-day delay en route. Then I came back home and went back to Camp Shanks. And then, believe it or not, got on the Queen Mary.
Okay.
I went overseas on the Queen Mary. If I remember correctly, they said there was 12,000 troops on the ship. It was the first one that sailed out of convoy during the war. And they changed their course every 5 minutes, so they dodging the submarines. And they said that no one could figure out their course the way they changed it. No one would be able to have time to figure it out in crossing.
No one could chart their course and be able to intersect.
That's what they said, the way that they was changing it. Of course, it was a pretty fast ship, I think like 35 knots. And that was pretty fast for a ship of that size back in those days.
All right, now, Everett, you're on this huge ship going across this huge ocean, and you're a small town boy from Rudy, Arkansas.
Right.
New experience for you.
We landed in Normandy, in Ireland. I don't know why there, rather than, I guess, for safety precautions. But we landed in Ireland, was there a few days, and went down to England. We were there a few days. And then we crossed the Channel, and we landed in Normandy. Of course, like I say, it had already been secured, and was, I believe they were up, I can't remember for sure, but I believe they were somewhere around Reims when I joined the unit.
All right, and what unit was that?
45th Infantry Division,
45th Infantry.
179th Regiment.
All right, now do you remember where you hit the beach at Normandy? Was it Utah or Omaha?
Well, it was, I understood it to be Normandy. I didn't know
Okay, okay,
anything else.
okay. So you're coming, so your small unit, are you how many in your unit that's going to meet this 45th?
Well, I really don't know what they did. They had a camp for replacements. It was a pretty large camp, but the new recruits went overseas. They put them in this, I guess what you call a holding station. And then as the battalions, the regiments or whatever it was, call for men, they would pick them out of this holding area and put them on the front lines. And when they had them, they didn't have them, they couldn't. But as far as I know, all of the fighting units were understaffed when I was there.
Okay.
There was times when our platoon was down to 7 people.
But now, when you joined them in Rings, how many of you joined the 45th? Do you remember? Was it a whole large group of you or a small number?
Well, they probably just, when we went in the 45th, they was probably just, whatever they had called for that day.
Okay.
I don't remember. I do remember that we were surrounded up there one time for 4 or 5 days. And the 45th, the 14th Armored Division, you probably don't remember this, but they trained over at Camp Chaffee. And the 89th Infantry, they trained at Camp Butler, North Carolina. And that was a time when usually when they put people on the front lines, they put them up there with seasoned troops that knew how to live after you got there. But this was during a bad time over there, and they put the 14th and the 89th on the front, and they lost an awful lot of men. Of course, first thing that we did in our unit when we stopped, we dug a foxhole. When they stopped that night that they were on those lines the first time, they pitched pup tents, and they lost a lot of people.
Okay. Now, you told about when you would go dig a foxhole and some of the things you did to prepare because you were good with an axe. You want to tell me that?
When we stopped, if we were going to be there any time at all, or did not know how long we would be there, which was the case many times, I started chopping wood as fast as I could, and my buddy would start digging a foxhole. We dug these approximately 2 foot deep and 8 foot long. We dug them wide enough for 2 men to lay down in them. We never did do that because one had to watch all the time. But of an evening when they brought up their bedrolls, they would bring 2 blankets for each person. And you put 2 down and 2 over you, and even though it was the coldest winter ever on record over there, it was really not cold in one of those foxholes. And I was in fact, we used to cut wood for a living when I was a kid. And when we would stop, my buddy'd start digging, and I'd start chopping. Mm-hmm. And we'd put these poles about so long over the foxhole, and then put a foot of dirt or more over the logs. And we left a space about this long in one end of the foxhole. And that's where one would sit all night with a rifle between his legs. It was out this hole.
All right, he would kneel down and watch out over them. Yeah. About how deep did you dig the foxhole?
As best I can remember, they were about 2 feet, 30 inches deep.
Okay. Now, when you hit Rings, when you went into France and you joined the 45th, did you go immediately into battle?
I guess we did. I know that they had pulled back there they're supposed to have a time of rest so many days, I don't know how many, but anyway, like on Thanksgiving Day, the cooks had set up a kitchen down in the basement